Okay, we'll play this while we're getting started, and I'll see you in a couple of minutes.
When you came over, my heart was on its
while we're
way
getting started,
out.
and I'll see you in a couple of minutes.
I wasn't sober, and I was thinking out loud. I spoke of your bravery, your wit and audacity, of coming over and letting go of it all. Please move close to me. You love differently, so move close to me. Love me differently, differently. You lay beside me, you held my hand in the dark. I started fighting, 'cause I was scared of it all. And isn't it glorious how love gets the best of us? Yeah, I got feelings, but I'm a tough one sometimes. Please move close to me. You love differently, so move close to me. Love me differently, differently. Please move close to me. You love differently, so move close to me. Love me differently, differently.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the show. Let me just quit that video so it's out of the way. How's everyone today? Missed you all last week in the live show. I was out shooting, actually, so couldn't come in on the live show. Let's check who's in. So pop in the chat and say hello. Let's have a look. Oh, I might quit email as well, just so we don't get those notifications coming through. So RJ said Sony 16mm 1.8 GM, need for APS-C, must have OSS. I'm going to talk about that, actually, that lens in one of the stories today. Carl's here as well. Anthony's saying, g'day Bacchus. G'day Anthony, how are you? From lovely Melton, very close to me. Brett said, g'day all. Adam said, hi, hello David and everyone, from a sweltering 100-degree day today. It's quite cool today in Melbourne. It's only going to be about 20 Celsius, so it's lovely. What's that, about 70, I think? It's nice and pleasant today. Well, as soon as it starts warming up, I'm going to be having the Coronas with you guys again. I've got my Milo today, so it's my chocolate drink. So cheers. How'd you like my T-shirt that Tamron sent to me? Let me move that so I can show you. Ooh, look at this. Tamron. Mirrorless More. Tamron. I love it. So Barry said, good morning. Hero said, notification gang. Seafood photographer Ben Russell said, hello. Altric's also here. G'day, Altric. You must be moving soon, are you? James said, hi all from southern Mississippi. Rob is saying hi as well. Shadows said also welcome back, and David said hi as well. So it's lovely to see you all popping in. The stack's more popping in. Love it, guys, too, if you could give me a thumbs up, because it does let people know that I'm live. So that makes a big difference with how many people we get in. So yeah, pop in and give me a thumbs up would be terrific. I've already got one thumbs down as usual. But oh, well, look at how cool. Now this is a blonde beard. It's not white or grey. This is how cool does the blonde beard look against the black of my top? Altric said, yeah, buddy. Yeah, so you must be moving pretty soon. You haven't moved yet, though, Altric, have you? Just curious to know. So how's everyone been going? Been doing much shooting? Now, luckily, I've been getting around and doing a couple of shoots. I'll show you a quick one I did from yesterday. Let me just open this up. Where are we? Let me see if I can find it, because I took one yesterday with the... here we go. Let me open this up, and I'll just bring it over here. And let me just come back to here. Let me switch to here so you can see this. I could probably put it over here, actually, just over the thing. I'll do it here. It's easier. Did this shot just a couple of days ago, actually. 2 days ago. It was in... let me just quit out. It was at the lovely Lavandula where I go. This was shot with the A9 guys. Sorry, the A7S III. Amazed how good that camera is. It shocked me, actually, to be completely honest. I did remember when I did shooting a while ago. Obviously, I used to do shoot with the D3S and the D4 and things like that, and they were 12 megapixel cameras, the D3S was. And I forgot how good it is actually shooting with that. But having said that, boy, looking at the resolution and everything, not resolution, but looking at the sharpness, particularly in the dynamic range of the A7S III for photography is amazing. And I did a test too. You can watch it if you go back a little bit as well. Let me see if I can find that. I did do a test here as well, looking at the differences between the A7 III, and there's a whole video I've put up about that. So if you are interested in having a look at that, you probably won't be able to see it now through here, but the differences in the color of the A7S III compared to the A7 III is quite dramatic. In fact, when I looked through the viewfinder, I was shocked, and you'll see that if you watch the video, because I looked at one and I went, whoa, I thought something was going wrong with the viewfinder, because it was quite different. You're not going to see the difference how much it actually is. It's quite stark. It makes the A7 III look pretty ordinary, to be honest. The A7 III has a real yellow cast on the skin, particularly. The A7S III is much more neutral or warmer in the skin tone. But when I say that, it's a little bit more magenta-y, and it even looks, it's much sharper, like much sharper. The hair looks much better. The greens look way better in this compared to what it was with the A7 III. So it was a really interesting test that I did, and I will do some more tests in the coming days. I'd like to do one to see what the 1080 footage is like as well. But I did a whole shoot with that camera, and you'll be able to see that if you, obviously you guys are subscribed to me, but you'll be able to see this whole shoot coming up in the coming days. So I've done a whole shoot doing a stack of different, Anya did a stack of different changes and things like that she did as well. This was shot with a 135mm, and honestly, I was blown away with how the images look straight out of camera. This was straight out of camera JPEG. So everything I'm showing you now is just JPEGs, basically straight out of camera. It's awesome. I'm tempted to use this a lot more for photography. Particularly, look, unless I need the resolution of what the A7 III has, when I look at what this gives me in the sharpness and colors straight out of camera, I'm tempted to use this in a lot more shots. If I don't think I'm going to go up to massive poster size. Now, remember, I can probably go up to 20x30 with this quite successfully. If I'm not doing anything that's much larger than that, I think I'm probably tempted to go and use the A7S III just due to the fact that it's outstanding. I mean, also another one I'll show you as well here. Let me just open up this image. So if you're looking at this image here, you can see here that's the normal focal length. Well, then I blew it up in Lightroom just to sort of show what detail you can get. Now, I don't know how this is going to come out in YouTube, because there's a lot of compression and stuff that goes on. But Now, remember, I've blown this up. Now, you wouldn't be able to then print this at massive sizes, obviously, but this sort of shows you how much you could blow this up and use it for social media and video sort of production and things like that. It's quite outstanding. So I'm blown away. I really am. And I think the color changes that they've made are absolutely outstanding. And I think the color that they've now got in the A7S III is beautiful. Let me just see what people are saying, because I'm just curious to know what everyone's saying. So I've really been shocked, guys. When I looked through the viewfinder, I went, whoa. And I was even looking at the rear screen. The rear screen definitely seems to have improved. I thought it was exactly the same, but it's definitely improved over what the A7 III has. It seems to be a lot more contrasty and it looks much nicer. And I'll talk about this more when I do the full review on the A7S III as well. But boy, when you look through that EVF, it is stunning when you look through the EVF and you're looking at the images that it's producing, and you think it's not such a big deal having that 9 million dot EVF. Well, when you're doing photography and you're looking through that EVF, it is absolutely stunning. It's like you're looking. It's better than daylight. It's better than looking at the image normally. It's gorgeous. So let's see. So if you have any questions about that, fire away. Chris said, hello, David. A hot day in Los Angeles, but a good day for a Miller light. Ooh, cheers. I have to calibrate my monitor. Talking about my beard color. Your platinum beard is turning grey. It's not grey. It's blonde, Tim. It's blonde. You need your monitor calibrated. Alien Drone Service said the 16mm GM is going to be great for architectural photography. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that in one of the stories today. I was up at the crack of stupid to shoot the moon and Venus a couple of days ago. Ben Russell said, let's hope they put it in the new cameras. Well, I would think that they will from now on. They'll put it into all of the newer cameras. You would expect that to be the case. I was shocked at how good the images looked, though. I really was shocked to see how good they look compared to what the A7. I must now do a test against the A9 because, like I said, I'm going to have trouble putting that down. After I looked at the images I took from that whole shoot, and I used it for a few hours 2 days ago with it, I really want to photograph with it. And that's the interesting thing is I know sometimes I might be compromised with the 12 megapixels, but I don't crop in post very rarely. So I usually do shoot for the crop. So I shoot as it's going to appear. So it's probably not going to be an issue for most of the things that I do. And I can't wait to use it in a wedding because I can't wait to use it in things like the reception, inside the ceremony locations, particularly if it's in a church where the low light is going to be an issue, things like that. But I think it's going to be gorgeous. And the other thing too is we can get that new format too, HEIF. Once that's even there, I think it's going to be even better. Now they were JPEGs, so when Lightroom has HEIF format compatibility, I'll switch to that, and the range is going to look even better. The images look much better in HEIF over JPEG. So I can just imagine what the color and resolution and detail is going to be once I can switch over to that format. At the moment, you can't because nothing supports it. Sony's own software might, but Lightroom doesn't. So it looks really rosy in the future, guys. So, I'm thinking now more and more, and I did change my mind once I did that video because I remembered how much I used to shoot with the D3S and the images that I used to capture from that and the massive posters that I used to capture from that. So, that's one thing I'm thinking now that, boy, I might use that more and more and more, particularly after I've shot with it. Wait till you see that video coming up. I think you're going to be shocked at how beautiful the results look straight out of camera. It really is. I mean, all these images that we were looking at through here, where are we? All of these images, they've had no retouching. They're straight out of camera. Like these images, like I said, I don't know what it's going to like looking through YouTube. Because there's probably going to be compression that's involved. But these are all straight out of camera. And they're gorgeous. Like, they really are stunning. And I just think, wow. Like, it's going to be amazing. I don't know if I can blow that one up. just reviews and preview. But, you know, that they absolutely amazing. So stay tuned for that, guys, because I think it really looks rosy, particularly if they put this color science into the A7 IV, which probably will happen coming up soon as well. Mark said, yes, hello, 12 megapixel is amazing. Headset check. Now, how to open HIF? Well, you can't at the moment. That's the problem. You can't open those formats yet. There'll be an update in Lightroom eventually, I would say. Good morning, David Nash said, super excited with the A7S III coming. Color looks amazing straight out of camera. It does. It looks super. I must check compared to the RAW files. When I did the shoot, I did download the RAW files to that as well, but I was so happy with how the JPEGs look straight out of camera that I just used the JPEGs, and like I said, it's stunning. Mark said, has anyone edited A7S III images in Capture One? No, I've got Capture One, but I never even open it, to be honest. Images look fine on YouTube, Carl said as well. Well, thanks, Carl. I forgot to put the timer on again. God, I'm hopeless. All right, so Jean also said the images look amazing, David. I'm looking forward to the A7 IV and the A7R5 with the improvements they can carry over from the A7S III. Yeah, so I think those color now will move down through the whole range, you would think. I'll be surprised if they don't now, but they definitely have made a massive improvement. And, you know, I didn't notice, I shouldn't say that the A7 III is bad because I never noticed when you look at it on its own. But when you put them up side by side, you know, what was the other one that I had there? What was that one? When you put, this was another one that I posted. When you look at them side by side, this was interesting because this was using auto white balance. The previous one that I showed you had white balance was locked because I use a color checker passport. And it's interesting to see how the automatic white balance has handled it. On the left-hand side here is the Sony a7S III. On the right-hand side here is the Sony a7 III. Now, they're both on auto white balance, and you can see how much nicer the auto white balance is over here. Now, in fact, if I open up the other image, this was the one that was calibrated. So I used the color checker here to I think it ended up being about 5,600 Kelvin was the setting that I put in. I wanted to make it exactly the same. But you can see how much that changes. Look how dirty, too, the greens look over here as compared to, say, over this side. So this was on locked-in white balance at 5,600, which is what the color checker passport said. This one here, I wanted to try that with the automatic white balance, and it almost, the exposure, look, the lighting didn't change. It was quite an overcast day, and it didn't change. Both cameras were set on exactly the same exposure, but it looks like when I changed onto auto white balance that the actual exposure has changed on the a7 III, which is interesting, and I don't know why that happened, but you can see that it's much cleaner on the A7S. The skin tones look amazing. It looks very, very yellow and sort of flat and dull on the A7 III. The greens look muddy as crazy. I mean, if you compare the greens in the A7S to say, the A7 III, the greens look awful. And the detail difference, like in the hair and stuff like that, and the exposure change, and that was just switching it to auto white balance. So, yeah, I don't know why. Someone may be able to answer that, but it's interesting. It certainly changed the exposure. And these were shot one after the other. Light didn't change. I was checking that as I was shooting. So that's, you know, it's quite interesting. Let me just come back to me. Let's see what else we're saying before we start the show. So the colours do look great, Nash. Yeah, I agree. Look, they look super. And Jean, I agree too. Mikhail said, skin tones on the S3 look similar to the A9 II, referring to the A9 II video you uploaded. Yeah, I think they've improved it even more, to be honest. Michael, I think they've actually made it even better than the A9 II now. It's beautiful what they're getting out of the skin tones now. And colours overall just look so much more vivid and bright and beautiful. I might consider the A7 IV if they increase the megapixel to 32. The exposure is, yeah, I know, that's right. I can't understand that, Carl. All I did was switch the color white balance to auto. and it changed the exposure in the a7 III. The S3 didn't change. So in fact, the S3, between having the balanced exposure through the Color Checker Passport and the auto, was almost the same in the look, but the S3 changed substantially, and that's interesting. So they've probably improved the auto white balance a lot as well, which hasn't sort of been talked about, but it looks like they've really improved the auto white balance on that. James said, wish the firmware update could adjust the colours in the older models. I know, I wish that too. I mean, they probably could do it, but we're not going to get it, are we? Let's face it. The A7 S3 colours look like Canon. They do look a lot more like what Canon files are, and that's always been known for its skin tones. I think, to be completely honest, from what I've looked at on those images, I think it's the nicest colours I've ever seen for skin tones. Straight out of camera. I mean, I think it was absolutely beautiful. You know, that when you're looking at, like when we looked at that edited one, I should say edited, this was only added, I think, sharpening a fraction in Lightroom. When we look at that one, you know, the skin colours are just gorgeous, straight out of camera. They really are really, really nice, like beautiful, you know. And like I said, those other ones that I was showing you all the way through here that that had like that, you can see the skin color. Like this was straight out of camera, no editing, nothing done with these. These were directly out of camera. The pink is perfect in the blossoms as well. Like I said, the skin tones are great. The pink top that she was wearing, the skin tones are beautiful. The hair, the contrast in the hair, the detail in the hair, and everything's stunning. The greens in the background look gorgeous compared to what I was getting, say, you know, from the a7 III, which you know, if I bring one up, you can see here how immediately, you know, she looks very, very yellow. The pinks have died down. The green looks really quite dirty. It's like, you know, it's like, it really is literally like chalk and cheese. It really is. And it's more substantial with me seeing it on a big screen like that as well. So really interesting. I think we're in for interesting times, guys, with the Sony cameras for sure. They've definitely improved their color science substantially. G'day, Ike. How are you? Good to see you here. Nick's also saying hello. Blah, blah said, what about the a7 IV? Well, that would have the same color science, you would think. Tim said a7 III always seems to underexpose. Yeah, it does actually. I agree with that. I did always have to push it a fraction up. Particularly, I had some issues with the viewfinder and everything as well, and that's half of the problem, I think. The viewfinder, particularly on the a7 III, and even the back screen, the LCD, is so much better. I thought it was exactly the same, but they've definitely made improvements. Tim said the a7 III would be great if you could do pixel shift. Yeah, I know, that would be amazing. It really would. Rob said, mine always seem to overexpose slightly, maybe a third of a stop. All right, so let's get stuck into the show today because we've got a little bit to cover. I'm going to go over to here and we'll talk about this couple of rumours, because we've got some crazy rumours going on Sony Alpha Rumours about the a9r and the a7 IV. There's also rumours about the RX10V, the RX10X, and new FE lenses coming up as well. So there's some exciting things coming out as well. Nick just said, oh, I should mention that too. Nick just said here that is anybody in full lockdown? Well, we have to congratulate Melbourne. We only had one case today. We've only got one case of the virus in the whole of Victoria, which is probably a state the size of California. I don't know how it works out roughly that way, but yeah, we've only got one case in the whole of Victoria. I think we've sort of gone out of lockdown because I'm classified as country. Melbourne on Sunday is going to have an announcement where I think they're going to be eased out of lockdown now as well. So it looks like we're almost going to be completely virus-free. So congratulations, everyone in Victoria. It looks like we've really beaten the virus, which is terrific. So congratulations on that. All right, so the a9r, a7 IV, and there's a couple of other the RX cameras as well. If we look down here, it says that these are different sources that have sort of come out, and then I'll break this down in a minute. It's saying that I have rumours regarding the a7 IV from a trusted salesman at Sony, which says the camera will have a 48 megapixel sensor and be available for Christmas 2021. I was a bit disappointed. Hang on. I hope it's not that long away. I mean, I was sort of hoping we'd have it by the end of the year, early next year. Boy, surely they're not going to keep us waiting that long, are they? I would have thought that they still haven't answered some other cameras that have now come out. I mean, we've just got Nikon, which I'll talk about in a minute. And we've had sort of releases from Canon, the EOS R6, and I think we haven't had an answer from Sony to sort of match that. Yes, we've got the a7S III, which certainly matches anything out there if you're dealing with video. And like I said, I've been surprised how good it is with stills. But I would have thought they would have had to answer that sooner than sort of Christmas for next year. So that's a little bit disappointing if that's the case. Carl just said 65,000 new cases in the US. Yeah, I know, that's incredible, Carl. Boy, yeah, we had one in the whole of Victoria today. We've probably got, in the whole of Australia, it's probably, 5 or 6. It'd be very, very few numbers. So that's disappointing if that is the case, that we're going to go to Christmas 2021 before we get that. Now, an RX1 successor, they're saying here that they are working on a full-time, full-frame bridge camera with a zoom. Also on a Zeiss, it's saying halogen-type camera with an 11mm wide-angle lens. Two technicians said they work in the Sony DreamWorks. They work in Sony DreamWorks or something. So they're saying a new full-frame camera with an 11mm probably fixed lens. Don't know about that, but it's an RX1 successor. They're also saying 3 FE lenses, they're saying as well. So they're saying a 24-105 2.8. That'd be pretty cool. I mean, if you're dealing with videography and you wanted one lens that could do everything, a 24-105 f2.8 would be amazing. That would be a really good video type lens, and stills as well, but for video that would be unbelievable. They'll release it after the 12 to 24 2.8 GM. Source number 4 said Sony will release also a SEL, so it's a 300 2.8 and a 50 1.2. And a Cell 200 f2.8 this year. A 200 2.8 would be incredible. But I suppose you've got that in a 70 to 200. What do you think about the 50 to 1.2? I was hoping that they would have released an 85 1.2 first. I'm still hoping that's the case. What happened to the 105 or whatever they were talking about that was meant to be released? That seems to have just disappeared. There was a 105 1.4 or something that was meant to be coming out. We've never seen that. But that's interesting. A 300 2.8, that would be fantastic. 50 1.2 would also be great too. I mean, if you like the 50mm focal length, that would be a really nice lens to have. I would prefer more an 85 1.2. And the 200 2.8. Let me know in the live chat too what you think about those lens rumours. Source number 5 said, and I'll talk about the 16 in a minute. Source number 5 said the RX10V released in quarter 4 of this year, I think. Quarter 4 to 2021 quarter 1. So they're saying that's going to come out pretty soon. It's going to have a new B&H XR, new 20 megapixels, 1-inch type stacked sensor. 60 times per second like the A9 for their autofocus, but the dynamic range extended and support 14-bit uncompressed RAW and full res 5K oversampling. 10-bit 422, wow, that looks like it'd be a really nice camera to have actually, because they're saying it's going to have 4K 60, 10-bit 422, an XAVC-HS, and also the SI mode, which is the one I use all the time too. That looks like it would be a really interesting camera. Be interested to see what size that is, though, now that if they're going to be pushing those sort of resolutions and stuff out of that. But it looks really quite interesting. Source 6, this is about the a9r. said 48 megapixels, special CFA stack sensor, internal 96 megapixels output with pixel shift multi-shooting, full green screen resolution 24. I'm not sure what that means. Why would you want that? Full green screen resolution 24 megapixel, 20 frames per second HQ mode for sports shooting user. Oversampled 8K video support. I'm not quite certain I believe those features. I just don't know why they would. I mean, do you think that's the case? I mean, I don't know. I don't think that will happen. I think that would probably be. I don't believe an a9r is going to exist. I don't think we're going to see a video version of the A9. I think they will stick that deliberately for sports shooters. And I think they would just bring out a higher-ended Sony camera that might be an a7 IV or something or whatever. I think they'd have that sort of thing there. I'm not sure I believe it, but I don't know. Let me know what you think about that, but that's an interesting thing. I think they'd probably release an a9 III before they did an a9 IV. And there's still a possibility that they'll do that before the Olympics. Remember, the Olympics were postponed, so it could be that they do that, bring out a new a9 III before the Olympics next year, because I think, what is it, July next year, I think they're going to be. So I'm not sure about that one. That's an interesting one. 48 megapixels, 8K, probably has to have the 48 megapixels to shoot the 8K. So this would be a video version of the A9. Who knows? I mean, we've always talked about that, but I'm not sure it's going to happen. I'm just laughing at MM said David's beard, growing that beard so he can get down our chimneys and give us our camera wishes. A7 IV, I'm disappointed they're now saying Christmas 2021, though. I really thought they would have replaced that earlier than that. But I don't know. What do you think about the lenses too? What do you think about the 50 1.2? I would want a 50. I would want an 85 1.2 before I had that one. But that's me. If you like shooting the 50 mil focal length, you know, you'd be loving that. So let me check what you guys are saying about these rumours, because I'm just curious to know. Yeah, 65,000 cases. That's crazy, isn't it? Boy. I know Europe's having a bad run at the moment as well. Carl said that's a lot amount of people that can be infected by the association to other individuals. But the A7 IV will exceed all expectations. Well, it want to be if they don't bring it out until the end of next year, Rob. I was trying to hold out for the A7 IV. I've just ordered the R4 instead. Well, that's a great camera anyway, so you can't go wrong with that. The images that I showed you at the beginning of this were shot with the R4. That little presentation I shot at the beginning. Holding out for the Canon R1 and the Nikon Z9 for action sports and wildlife. Hero said you can get the A7R4 for good prices now. Yeah, I know that, and they'll probably drop by Christmas. So, you know, I think things will get even better. Depending on what happens, like in the US and Europe and everything else, if people do go into full lockdowns, we've been in full lockdown for, I don't know, 3 months, I think, almost now. And it really has affected, obviously, how much people have got to spend. So if that happens in Europe and the US, you might find that camera companies have to discount to make people buy. So it's going to be an interesting thing to see what happens with, you know, around Christmas and the Boxing Day sales and all that sort of stuff, or Black Friday sales. I'm not sure if you have Boxing Day sales overseas, but Black Friday definitely. A7 IV for Christmas 21 looks about right, Ike's saying. What else have we got? Mark said, I want the 105 from Sony. Yeah, I know. I don't know why that's just disappeared. Like, there was rumours about that 12 months ago. I think there was even patents, Mark. So I'm not sure what's happened about that. I don't know. I love the First Amendment. I don't even know what that means. I don't know what the American amendments are, but I'm just laughing because it must be something that's means something. Are the virus across the world either speeding up cameras? The virus across the world either speeding up cameras in certain areas like the delayed Olympics for sports and slower release for portrait and landscape photographers, hence the 2021 timeframe. Oh, you're saying so the virus could be, yeah, well, it could be. Yeah, I mean, it might be having an effect on the releases, that's for sure. I mean, how much are people going to have to spend? Kuwait said, shot my first wedding with the A7S III yesterday. Awesome video camera, great sticky autofocus. Yeah, I found the autofocus is fantastic. I love it. Also, one of the main things I love about it is when you're in manual focus, you can touch rack focus, with the screen. And that is incredible. I love that feature. Rob said the 12 to 24 GM, 24 to 105 GM. I think the 24 to 105 GM would be amazing at 2.8 because I know the 24 105 f4 one is a really good lens now. It's a great lens if you want a really good focal length, like if you're working a wedding and you want a lens that you could keep on all day and you've got, 105 is fantastic. And if you use clear image zoom, well, you can go even a lot further. But a 24 to 105 would be the perfect wedding lens, particularly if it was a 2.8. So a 24 105 GM 2.8, I'd be tempted to get. 100 to 400 GM, talk about the holy trinity of lenses, 12 millimeter to 400 in 3 GM lenses with no gaps. Yeah, it certainly is good. MM is saying that my beard's going to be so I can give people Christmas presents. What else? Nick said battery life needs to be improved on the rumored 8K Sony Sports. Yeah, I've noticed there is a massive difference in battery life compared to the a7 III. Massive. Where I would use one battery, I now would use probably 2.5. So you definitely have to take that into account. The processor must be working way, way harder in the a7 III compared to, say, the a9 or the a7 III. So you definitely have to think about that. I think if you're doing a wedding, who was it just before they said they had the wedding the other day? Can't remember. Someone just said they did a wedding the other day. Let me know too, because I'd be curious to know how many batteries you went through. But I would think I used to go through 1 or 2, and I think now I'd probably use 5. So it'd be interesting. Let me just come back because I think it's jumped. Tim said he's still locked down in Melbourne. Hopefully good announcements on Sunday. Yep, I'm sure there will be. If not, I've heard the week after businesses will open up, so that's going to be great. Hero said, glad everyone there is taking it seriously. Well, we have to, or you get massive fines. To let you know the difference, and this is what you Americans are probably going to think we're nuts, I don't know, but at the moment here in Melbourne, if you can only travel 5 kilometres, so what's that, probably 3 miles? If you go outside of that 3 miles, you get a $5,000 fine. So that's telling you how serious it is. Now, if they, say, travel from Melbourne and they come into the country where I live, it's a $10,000 fine. So it's a massive fine leaving from the city into the country. It's a huge fine. Businesses, if they open up, will be fined $10,000. There was a guy yesterday opened up early because he was sick of waiting and he got a $10,000 fine. We have to wear masks. It's mandatory outside. If you don't wear masks, and this is the whole of Victoria, if we don't wear masks, we get a $200 fine. So I would hope that that's the case, that we're taking it seriously, guys, because we've probably got the tightest lockdown restrictions in the world, but it's worked. And I suppose that's what you can say. We were getting 700 cases not long ago, and now today we've got 1. So it has worked, that's for sure. Nick said, taking about 6 weeks here in Ireland, and well done if your country or area has beaten the virus. Yeah, well, it looks like we seem to have. I mean, it's still going to be there. They'll have to be careful, but it looks like we've got control of it, which is fantastic. Because like Carl's saying, 65,000 cases is nuts. Nick said, that's a lot of amount of people that can be infected. Yep. Let me keep coming down. I missed a few. That's why I went back. Ike said, the US COVID cases are high because Americans don't follow instructions well and freedom. Mark said he wanted that 105. Yep. Like I said, I don't know what's happened to that. So it's interesting, isn't it? It's just disappeared. Nick said, are the viruses across the world either... Oh, I've read that one before as well. Oh, there it is. Who was it? Colbert, let us know how many batteries you used, because I'd be really interested to know how many batteries you used if you did the full wedding day. Like I said, I think I'd probably go through about 5 now if I was shooting just a full wedding on videography. But let us know. So the battery life does need to be improved if they've got 8K cameras, because it probably would use even more battery, yeah. And the Sony batteries are good. It just shows how much power the a7 III is dragging out. Mark said, still got his Canon 85 1.2 and not selling. I don't blame you, Mark. Hero said the A7 IV better have 10K if it's coming out from a year now. I love it. Altric said he's just waiting for the a9 III. So am I, Altric. I mean, that probably will be maybe the next camera that I buy. Depending on what the a7 IV has, now that I'm so happy with the a7S III that I might just skip the a7 IV and just get an a9 III. I'll just have to see which way I go, but I've got 12 months. I'm not buying other cameras now for 12 months, so it's probably good that there's no more cameras coming out till the end of next year. I suppose I could sell the cameras that I've got, like I did with the a7S III, and then it doesn't cost me anything. St. Stephen's Day in Ireland and not called Boxing Day in the Catholic Republic of Ireland. Okay. Even the Sigma 70-180. Yep, nice lens. It means we can do whatever and say whatever we want. Well, certain people, that is. Oh, okay. Maybe the 105 rumours were actually the 24-105. Well, I wouldn't think so because it was actually, I'm sure that I read ages ago, Dave, that 105 was actually patented. I'm sure that's what Sony Alpha Rumours said. Tim said the screen and EVF would be sucking a lot of... Yeah, that's true too. They would be. Yep, definitely. Possibly why they've been hesitant to update them. Yeah, and it might affect the a7 III as well. I mean, that may be a reason why they haven't put those updates through. I mean, who knows? Sony uses battery life on the A9 is poor compared to Canon and Nikon Pro bodies. Well, I've found, Nick, that the battery life on the A9 is incredible. I use one battery per day doing a whole wedding. So I think it's incredible. Very rarely do I have to switch. It might be right at the end of the day in the reception. It might be that I then have to change just to finish the day sometimes. But I think the battery life on the A9 is amazing. So Hero said they're finding people in New York City now as well. Okay. Ireland, the lockdown... by county. Okay, so it's by counties. Hero said the people that don't wear masks here try and beat up the workers and even cops that say put masks on. Oh, my God. Alexander said, is Fujifilm crop series dead? No, I think Fujifilm will be fine. APS-C and Fuji will do very, very well. They really are the best crop sensor camera out there. I don't think anything can match Fuji for crop sensors. The A6000 series certainly doesn't beat the Fuji series, that's for sure. Tim said, I've had to travel to buy a house in Geelong. We sold our house before shutdown. Had to move in with my cousin in Geelong to do so I'll be homeless. Yeah, I know, wow. RGV's here from Florida. G'day, mate. Symphony of Cars said X1H is best. Yeah, that's a great camera. Hero said Florida boys. XH line is closed, unfortunately. Alexander also said the XS new is cheaper than the XT, even... and line becomes videography oriented. Oh, okay. You're saying it's more videographer orientated. They substitute Panasonic. Agent Green said that I just bought the A9 II. You're going to love that camera. What a great camera. No boosted grip. MD said, quick question about crop lenses on full frame. Sigma 30 1.4 on a Sony a7 III or a7C. Will there be a loss of quality? No. No, the quality is exactly the same. It doesn't affect it. It's only a crop factor. That's all you've got to think about. So you can use it all the time. I wouldn't. There's definitely no loss in quality. I've tested that all often myself. I think Tony Northrup said there was, but it's rubbish. There's not. There's no loss in quality at all. The only thing you lose is your depth of field can look different. But no, there's no loss of quality. Ripe said, I'm here late. Nick said, using video in the wedding. Yep. Colbert said, wedding ceremony on the a7S III. Battery got down to 30%. It's about 50% of what I got from the a7. Yep, that's what I thought. Like I said, I would, if I'm doing videography, I would always use more batteries than if I'm doing stills. And I've heard of other photographers saying they had to take about 5. I think Matt did. A few of them I've heard say they take about 5 batteries now just in case. I suppose too, it depends on how long you're going to be shooting. I think that too might have been if they had 2 cameras as well. I think it might have been. So whereas you might have used 1 before, you would now use 2. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah, they had 2 a7S IIIs and they used 5 batteries. James said lockdown has killed more than the bug, according to the World Health Org. Yeah, it's destroyed businesses here too, James. It's terrible what's going on. I feel so sorry for businesses. I'm lucky because I own my studio. I just built it off my house, so it's in the. I built a massive studio in my back garden. So I'm lucky I don't have to pay anything. But if I had to pay for my studio space, like rent, it would kill you. And I know what's happening in the industry here because weddings aren't going to start until next year. The earliest weddings I've got are February, and that's still if we can even do them. At the moment, we can only have 10 people at a wedding. So I don't know if we're going to even have them next year. Who knows? Carl said the battery life on the A7 IV is excellent. Yep, it certainly is. David, are you planning on adding to your gimbal graveyard with the Rowan S2? No, probably not at this stage. I love my Moser Air 2, so I probably won't. But who knows? I mean, I might. I'll let you know. I'll put another one out there at the back. It does look like a really good... The S2, the DJI Rowan S2 does look really good though, but boy, it's expensive. I'm not sure if I'd like to pay that sort of cost for a gimbal that I've probably already got that does the same thing. So I'm not sure about that. Let me know in the chat too whether any of you think you'd like to get the Rowan S2 or whether you think it's expensive. I love my 24-105 f4. I would get the 24-105 2.8 in a heartbeat. Yep, I agree, Rob. It probably interesting to see how expensive it will be though, that's for sure. Ali said it's the A7S is coming tomorrow. Congratulations. You are absolutely going to love it. Stephen said, just got the A7S III, so now I have that plus the A7 III. I'm torn between keeping the A7 III or selling it and getting an A7R III. The A7S III has me covered for video, so the other body would be for the photo. Just depends if you need the resolution, Steve. I mean, if you don't need the resolution, I'd just keep the A7 III. 24-105 2.8 would be the one lens to rule them all. I know, how good would that focal length be? Fantastic. Certainly would be a great wedding lens. Steve said, I shoot some fashion, but mostly live music, so low light is super important. I do print my photos, but the majority of my work is just for social media. Let me know what you think I should do. Yeah, well, I'd probably just keep the A7 III then. All right, so let's keep going anyway, because I'll just mark here just so I know where I'm up to, because I want to keep going on these stories. The 16mm is an interesting one. So there's rumours now, and I'd love to know what you guys think about this, because this is an interesting one. Sony, there's rumours Sony are going to release an ultra-fast, ultra-wide 16mm 1.8 GM lens in 2021. This is really interesting. I mean, I still am in the marketplace for a wide angle. But I think I'd probably want something wider than 16. I'd probably want something around the 12mm. Probably 12, 14 at the biggest, but 12 probably would suit me better. But this is going to be a 16 1.8. I suppose they've probably gone to that so it doesn't get too big. Because if it was a 1.4 or 1.2, it'd be massive. But they're saying basically this would be the amazing, and it would be incredible. Astrophotographer would be unbelievable. Sony is working on the world's fastest 16mm full-frame lens. The rumoured 16mm 1.8 GM will be the fastest and widest prime lens in the Sony G Master arsenal, and one of the fastest ultra-wide primes in the market. They're saying it's from a trusted source. They're saying it will arrive early 2021. It's saying... wide angle is something to drool over by chopping a full 10mm off the fastest ultra prime lens in the current G Master lineup, the 24 1.4 GM. I suppose you could use the 20 though, couldn't you? That you could use the 20 mil, which is a great lens as well. Speaking of which, SAR claims that this 16mm lens will be about the same size and quality. Build quality as a 24. Wow, that's pretty good, isn't it? If they can keep it down the size of the 24, that would be nice. It'd be a good gimbal lens, that's for sure. No price yet, though, or anything mentioned. We mentioned astrophotographers because they're saying that, what are they saying here? But there are other lots of photo and video shooters who would love to add the lens like this, a Sigma 14mm 1.8 HSM to their kit. Are you one of them? let me know whether you would think that's interesting or not. Like I said, I think I'd prefer something a little bit wider than that, but that's just me. I'd like a nice wide angle that I could use for weddings in tight locations when it's very, very low light. At the moment, to be honest, I use the 10 to 18 APS-C lens because I can get 12 mil on that. In full frame, so that's what I'm using for that. The quality's not brilliant, but it's good enough. But that's why I'd love to get a faster wide angle. 16 mil would not be wide enough for me, I don't think. I will come back to the Q&A. I just want to keep moving on. So anyway, that's meant to be coming early 2021, so that's something interesting. Nikon, I wanted to talk about this because Nikon unveils the Z6II and the Z7II. Finally, with dual card slots, 4K 60 video and more. I mean, a few people are bagging this, but I think it's not too bad. I mean, look, it's probably a little late. This probably should have been, without the 4K 60, this probably should have been the release that they did when they had the original Z cameras. If they'd done that with the dual card slots, I think most people would not have whinged about the cameras that were there. But basically, a lot of it's unchanged. They have added 4K 60, but there's no 4K 120. I don't even think, no, there's not. There's no 4K 120 that's there as well. It's the same sensor, basically, as what the previous cameras have or had. And it's a similar body to what the other cameras have as well. You can see both models sort of marked here. I'm just seeing if they say anything that's different. They've been updated with dual X-Speed 6 image processors. From what I've seen, the autofocus definitely looks better. Like there's eye autofocus now in video and things like that. So they've improved the autofocus compared to what they had before. So that's really good. They've increased the buffer size as well. And they've also got animal detect, which now works in the wide area, and better low light autofocus. They've got dual card slots, but it's one QXD CF Express card slot and one UHS-2 SD card slots, which is great, like I said, if you're doing wedding photographers. And it also now works with a battery grip as well, which was another stupid decision that Nikon made with not having a battery grip for the previous model that was out there. So anyway, that's available now. Looks like a really nice camera. I mean, if you're in the Nikon marketplace and you wanted to move over to mirrorless, now might be the time that you would do it. Like I said, the previous series without the dual card slots would have been a worry. But now that they've sort of upped that, it definitely looks like they've improved that sort of, anyway, that they, at least now you can have dual card slots sort of sitting in there. We know the images are stunning, and everything I've seen, the video is beautiful out of these cameras. It shows down here the battery grip that's been added as well, that you can see there. It's saying the Z6II will be available in November, and they're saying it's going to be $2,000 body only, $2,600 with a kit. I wouldn't recommend buy kit lenses ever though. The Z2 will be available 1 month later, so it's a month later in December for $3,000 body only, or $3,600 with the kit. So anyway, I think it's a bit of a positive. At least they've added things onto the camera now, and it's an improvement. I'm just not convinced that it's not a little bit too late, and they should have done this earlier. But at least Nikon have answered nearly all the questions that were there, and good on them for that. To continue moving on. I've noticed now, this is just news, I've noticed now, and I'll come back to the Q&A after we've done this, guys. I've noticed now too that you can use, there's a smart tether that's been announced from Tether Tools, that you can tether your Sony cameras now into Lightroom directly. So this is great because you can tether as well as shoot to your card as well at the same time. You could do this before, but you had to sort of put it into folders, and it was all clunky and it was horrible to use it. Whereas now you've got full control of doing this through Lightroom with this tether tool that's just been released. You can see it sort of connecting through here. And that looks fantastic. They're saying it's compatible with a whole list of Sony cameras. There's no additional configuration or setup. You can apply your Lightroom presets automatically going in, save to card and computer simultaneously. You can have direct tethered sessions for smarter shooter to take advantage of advanced tethering, etc. Barcode scanning and multi-camera connectivity. So this is great if you do like to tether to your laptop and show clients or whatever what you're doing while you're working, and you could still be capturing to the cards on the camera as well. So that's just been released, and I think that's great. It's something I'd like to look at, actually, because I'd love one day to set up my studio and have it connected to a computer and then be showing you live as the images feed in. So I think that might be something that's really good. More news. Sigma have patented some new lenses. There's a 300mm 2.8, a 250mm f2, and wow, that'd be pretty incredible. And a 200mm 1.8 lens. Wow, that imagine the bokeh there as well. That looks fantastic. So they're all patented at the moment. It just says a new Sigma patent published today unveils some superb new lens options for Sony. Boy, some interesting lens there. How lucky are we now? Let me see. I'm going to just vote here. Which one would I probably prefer out of that one? I'll probably go the Sigma 200 1.8. Let's vote. I'm just curious to see what people... Yes. Yeah, most people would like this, the 200mm 1.8 lens. How blessed are we, honestly, though, now in lenses with what Sigma are doing, what Tamron are doing, what Sony are doing, Samyang. I mean, boy, there's stuff everywhere. The next story is this one, which is the Image Edge app now. Webcam is now available on Mac. Before it was only available on Windows. So now if you're on the Mac side of things, you can now jump in with the Image Edge app to stream as a USB camera. I've never tried it because I come through hardware, but I might try it just to see how it works. But it'd be good if you're traveling and you just got a laptop and you want to just connect to your laptop and have it as a webcam. But at least now it's available through Windows, through Mac, which is fantastic. There's not much more else to say about that, but it's good. Next one is there's also a new rumor of a new Tamron lens coming, which is the 17-70. Now, this is an APS-C mount lens, which is interesting. That'd be their first APS-C mount lens, I'm pretty sure. But 17-70, that's quite interesting. 2.8 to 4.5, so it's a variable aperture lens. Obviously, if this comes out, I'll get it. I've got my review still to do of the 70-300. I've just about finished all the images and stuff, and I'll have that review up in the next couple of days, actually, so stay tuned for that if you're interested to know how the 70-300 went. It was a sneak thing. It was very, very good. So I'll have that up in the next few days, so stay tuned for that one. But it looks like the 17-70 is going to be announced, and like I said, I'll get a copy of that whenever that comes out as well. They're saying it should be quite a bit cheaper than the current Zeiss 16-70 f4 lens, and being an f2.8, it'll be interesting, variable 2.8 to 4.5. It should be really interesting to see what that is like, and I can't wait to try that on my A6400. This is another interesting one too. 7 Artesians have just announced a new 35mm. It's a 0.95. Now, just to show you too, I got sent this little thing, which this one here was it's the 35, I think. It's 35 1.2. Now, this is from Pergear. This is the 35 1.2. I'm going to review this too. I've been taking some images of this over the last few days. Fantastic little lens. Look how tiny it is too. This is a 1.2 lens, and I've loved using it. It's interesting to sort of manual focus at that range though, but I'll talk about this when I do the review, but Pergear sent me this, but stay tuned for that because I've really enjoyed using it. And look at how tiny it is. So this is also be an interesting one as well, because this is a 0.95 35mm. Wow. Could be fantastic for video too. Might be really interesting. Now, remember, a lot of people sometimes say, why do you ever need a 0.95? Well, I used to use when I had the Panasonic, I had the 10mm 0.95. I think it was a 10mm 0.95. And if you're far enough away from the subjects, everything is in focus. So it doesn't matter. Like, say if you're doing a wedding reception and you're far away enough from the subjects, you could open this right up and then obviously you lower your ISO. So it can have a big advantage having 0.95 depending on your distance from your subject. Now, look, yes, if you're shooting portraits and you're close, a nose would be in or an eyelash would be in and then the face would be out of focus from here. Yes, it depends on how you're going to shoot this. But to have that ability to open that right up can be amazing. And I used to use it for night photography all the time and I loved it. So this is quite an interesting one that's going to be coming out. They're not interested, nothing yet available about pricing and things like that. I'll have to see if I can get a copy of that when it comes out so I can review it for you guys. And lastly, the last thing I want to share before I open up to Q&A was Canon are now, I think they've admitted that they're working on a global shutter and a quad pixel AF. This is a report. It's Canon Rumours are reporting about it. I'm sure, look, Sony are definitely going to be working on a global shutter as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if an A9 somewhere down the track is the first camera to get it. But having said that, looking at the way the A7S III is now, with rolling shutter, it's almost non-existent. So the times where you would have to have, I was always hanging out so much for a global shutter. I'm not so much now after using the A7S III because the processors are so fast on that the rolling shutter is almost non-existent. There's still advantages though, like it helps with flash and things like that. But, it's interesting. They're saying quad pixel autofocus will be amazing. There's not much else that they're talking about at this stage, but I'm sure that Sony are going to be doing that too. They're just saying here, extremely fast rolling shutter sensors have been able to pull data enough to virtually eliminate the appearance of those bands and wobbles such as the A9, and that does. The sensor is that fast. But a global shutter will still be a vast improvement. A global shutter on a full-frame camera, sports camera like an R1 is rumoured to be, for example, would be a boon for silent and fast sports photography, and that's the difference. It's extremely fast. You won't get any rolling shutter at all. But like I said, I don't think you really get any on the A9 either, but it probably would be even improved over that. But there's patents done for that, so Canon are looking at it. I'm sure Sony are also looking at that as well. So, yeah. All right, so let's open up to Q&A, and we'll then finish. So fire away if you have any questions, guys. Let me just have a quick drink. Let me see if I can find out where we were down to. Love it if you could give me a thumbs up too, everyone. Really would appreciate that. I just had a report this morning too that this morning I passed 7 million views on my YouTube channel. Thanks so much, everyone. That is amazing. I couldn't believe it when I read that this morning. 7 million views. Wow. I was so happy about that. Let me come down. I was down here somewhere. Oh, there we go. We need a show exclusively A7S III. Well, I will be reviewing it too, so I will do that soon. I wanted to sort of use it fully and stuff like that first. I have put a full video now up about how that I shot of it, so you can view that if you want to go back and check that out as well. I might do a live one though, just on that. Use the A9 Mark II, didn't have the same battery life in comparison to the Canon 1DX Mark III and the Nikon D6 cameras, which I use. Photography market is shrinking and probably only Sony Canon will survive, plus Fuji, Hassel and medium format, and Leica as a luxury accessories. It is certainly going to get tougher, that's for sure. I'm worried about a few manufacturers, that's for sure. Fabian said, is it okay to buy a Canon RP after own the Sony A7? Is that the one, is it? Or should I wait and get more money and buy the R6? I'd probably get the save. I'd be getting the R6 if I could. It's a much better camera. Quick question about the crop lens on full frame. Oh no, I've already answered that. There's no loss of quality. Live music starting to come back here in Austin. That's fantastic. Tim said David will need another table behind him to fit more gimbals. Must sell some of those once things get out of lockdown. We had a total lockdown of all music, wedding and horse racing plus other sports have less life than Dracula. I love it. Making content photos for social networks is the next wedding and family market and is work good even with COVID. And it's work good. Okay, so you're saying it's even. Yeah, well, like I said, my business side of things has died off completely this year. Luckily, we're being supported by the government, so that's one fantastic thing. I just thought if the rumours of 48 megapixels for the A7 IV, I would give it a higher resolution than the A7R III. That would give it, yeah, well, it may. I don't know. I'm not convinced they will put 48 megapixels in the R4. I'm probably think it'll be 30 odd. That's what I'm just predicting. I don't think it'll be 48. It could be, though. I think the 48 megapixels will be more listed for something where they need 8K and stuff. SB said his name's Sohrab. He's from Bangladeshi. I wanted to do photography and videography, but I don't have any money. I am a poor person, but can't afford to buy a camera. Yep, that's not going to happen. Sorry. What else? I would have gone 12 or 14 millimeter. Yeah, I think I would too, Tim. But that's just, like, I think that's me. Some may, like, I'd love to know, do you think 16's wide enough? I think you've got the 20 and then you're obviously going down to the 16. I was hoping more for a 12 or 14, but that's me. Nash said 16 1.8 will be a killer for Astro and you could still use regular filters. Yeah, it will be interesting to see too. If it's the same size as the 24, is it going to be that same size filter? I'd be so happy if it is because that's everything that I've got, those filters. 60mm prime GM, my bank account is already worried. The 24 GM is still my favourite lens. I love that too. That's been locked on the A7S III at the moment. The new Nikon Zs look really good. They do, don't they? I mean, I think they look pretty good as well. Rob said for an ultra wide, I'm thinking of getting the Voigtlander 12mm 5.6. Nice. It'll be for landscape photography, so the speed isn't an issue and the sun stars are amazing. Yeah, I love Voigtlander lenses. Nick said Canon Z6II and Z7 Mark II will suit most people except sports and action and wildlife photographers. Plus needs, I prefer dual QXD. Yeah, it is a bit of a pain sometimes having the different cards. That can be an issue. LT, at least they have them though. So at least now it's got dual card slots on that camera. So at least that's one thing that's there. David, when is the Sony FX6 meant to be soon? I keep hearing that it's very, very soon, hopefully before Christmas. Brett said Capture One is the only one you need for tethering. Yeah, I use Lightroom though, Brett. So, I mean, I have got Capture One and that's why I bought it, but I never ended up using it. Because I'm sort of into Lightroom, that's why I'm happy that it now will work with Lightroom. Tim said 7 Artesian's perfect for elephant portraiture. I'm not sure what you mean by elephants. Canon need to worry about global cooler after the R5s they put out. I love it. Congrats, next milestone 10 million. I know, how good is it? 7 million. I couldn't believe it. Thanks, Ripe. I'm still waiting on my A7S III. Hopefully you'll get it soon, Sam. What a bummer. Yeah, it's awful if you're still waiting. Jonas said, can you please do a tutorial on how you do your hybrid shooting? Well, the thing is, I haven't had anything to do it on at this stage, Jonas, because like I said, weddings aren't even working at this stage. So that, it's a problem. I certainly would like to do one once weddings pick up again. I might be able to do, say, a model shoot or something that I might be able to do that with. Not sure why you hate on the Nikon's lots of nice features. I don't. Why the hate? Yeah, I certainly don't hate them, that's for sure. The rubber grip on my Tamron 28 to 75 is coming off. Wow, that's interesting. No, I've never had that. The mine are still as good as the day that I've had them. You might have to send it back. Perhaps it's a fault, Sean. That could be a faulty lens. Oh, yeah, I'm not sure why you're having that issue. Is there any last questions before we're finished? Otherwise, that's the end of the show. So thanks so much, everyone. Now, in the coming days, I've got the 70 to 300 millimeter lens. That will be up in the next day or so. I've also got the shoot of the A7S III that I use for stills with the Anya, so stay tuned for that. She's amazing. And I took some beautiful photos with that. So stay tuned for that because that's that will be coming out in the coming days as well. I've got this little lens that I'm doing a review on. I've also got a new tripod and a new backpack that's been sent to me that I'll be doing a review on as well. So stay tuned for those as well. So I've got a few things coming up in the next few days. I should be back with Aaron on this coming Wednesday our time, Tuesday your time. I'll have to talk to Aaron about it. I'll see if we can start an hour early. It just depends on whether he's back or not. I might try and do it about the same time we start today, because we've started daylight savings here in Melbourne, so we're an hour earlier. What are people saying here just before I go? Tamron should be on warranty. Yes, it should. Rubber grip on my Tamron is coming off too. Wow, that's interesting, Steve. That's amazing. Like, I use mine all the time and it's perfect. If you had to shoot a wedding stills, what are your go-to lenses for the day? All right, there's two really. The two main lenses now that I use are the 24GM and the 135. That's the lenses I would like to use all day, but I can't. So what I also use is the 85, because if I'm inside and I want to get beautiful headshots and things like that, I use the 85 Batis that I've got, the 1.8. And occasionally I will use a wider lens as well, which is the 16 to 35, or if I need to go really wide, I'll use the 10 to 18. But my main two lenses that I like to use now are the 24GM and the 135. If I could do a whole wedding with those two, I would. Apart from that, I'll often put on the 85. Now, Kerry, on the other hand, is using the other cameras that I've got, and she usually leaves the 70 to 200 f4 on. And she will stick on something like a 55mm when we're indoors, and she can do that. So that's often how we work. Or, there's another lens I take too. I carry two cameras. One camera will always have the Tamron 28 to 75 on it. So my a7 III would have the 28 to 75 on, just so that I can capture that whole range the whole day. My second camera, which is the A9, would be using that 24GM and the 135GM. I've always got the Tamron 28 to 75 on one lens, because that's a really good lens that I like to use for the day, and I can get those little macro shots in as well, because it gets close enough to shoot macro. Kerry, with her camera, is usually lugging around the 70 to 200 f4. And eventually I'll probably get the Tamron 70 to 180. That's probably what I'll do eventually. But at this stage, she's got the 70 to 200 f4, and she'll sometimes use the 55 mil as well. So that's sort of, what we use. But I would love to all day to shoot with the 24GM and the 135 if I could, and the Tamron 28 to 75 on the other camera. What else? Thanks. Have a great weekend, everybody. Rob's chiming out now. Rubber grip, if the lens breaking or just the rubber lens. Yeah, I've never heard of that before, so that's interesting. It's like it's coming forward on the camera, slightly not seated. Yeah, I'll get it looked at, that's for sure. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll see you all in the next video. Bye for now.
Tell you everybody's standing in a line for the water slide.